All right. Try this in one take. Okay. I was motivated to make this video for Booker Media's Cheddar Chaz. He made a video about the Swerve Booker T situation. And this is a situation where I want to speak on it. I got opinion on it, and I'm on wrestling forums like all of y'all talking about it. And more than anything, as a wrestling fan, I'm a black man, so I understand the perspective of this. First of all, I think both of them are wrong. And I'll start with Booker because he's the elder statesman. He's the OG. He really has paved the way for people like Swerve. So I'll start with Booker. But first, I'll just talk about the issue at hand. The issue at hand is just the racism that may or may not have been in the WWE. And the fact of the matter is, I think it's inescapable that there's been racism in WWE, both right in our faces, implied, and there have been some accusations just like, a lot of stuff. Of all the things that's been accused, that the WWE has been accused of, like racism is just another one of the things on the list. So I don't know why it's so hard to have a conversation about it. I get it. A lot of times it's black people who love WWE. A lot of times it's white people who don't want people to look at the WWE as a racist organization. But the fact is, and is inescapable, is that the WWE has had racist stuff on the show. Let me just kind of qualify myself. I'm a Lapsed fan. Lapsed in the sense that I grew up watching the Attitude Era, loved The Rock, loved Stone Cold, loved a bunch of other mid-carders. But I think around 2001, 2002, I stopped watching, and it's just mostly because I was growing out of it. I was heading to high school, and, Stone Cold, Rock, they were kind of getting part-time, so I just wasn't into it as much as I was before. But every now and then, I would keep up with some of the angles, some of the bigger angles, and I don't know how, because I don't remember seeing it live, but I don't remember how I found out about it first, but it was the Booker T and Triple H. I want to say it's like WrestleMania 30. 30 might be too high, because I probably stopped watching around WrestleMania 17, 18. So maybe WrestleMania 22. And let's just be honest, Triple H, who I'm not a big fan of, and again, I'm not talking about him as a man. I don't know him as a man. I'm critical of him as a booker and as a head of the current WWE, but I just hated his character. Just something about him. Something was off about him. He wasn't cool, even by the standards of me being a kid, and he was always in the way of The Rock and Stone Cold, in my opinion. I never remember being excited to see him. I'll give him his props. I think that Cactus Jack Royal Rumble match is just one of the best matches, and I'm talking about in real time. I thought it was one of the best matches I've ever seen. So I'll give him that. But I don't have to go through the whole thing, but one of the first times I ever heard Booker T speak on just racism in the WWE, it was him kind of defending this whole feud, and it's like, let's just call it what it is. He did everything but call him the N-word. I mean, it's like, it's more than explicit and implicit. He basically said, people like you don't win the WWE Championship. And at that point, and I've recently done some research on just all the black world champions. The WWE didn't have a black world champion in the 90s until The Rock. And before that, you got to go back to the territory days. You got to go to the WWE affiliates to show there was a black man. So, whether you want to call it racism or not, the WWE never had a black champion until The Rock. And we know how it is with The Rock. Shout out to him. I'm not going to try to qualify him as a black man, but anytime The Rock is on TV, he's on TV as a Samoan man, especially in the WWE. I get it. He was on the cover of Essence. He was on the cover of Jet, but that's kind of it. And shout out to him. You can't erase that his father is a black man. Speaking of his father, I'm pretty sure his father would have something to say about the racism in the WWE, the racism in American wrestling. Come on. Now, on to my point about that racist ass angle. It was racist. It was racist. There's no defending that. You are challenging you're disrespecting my intelligence by telling me otherwise. My bad, y'all. Some fake ass Rough Riders in the street. But the first time I ever heard him talk about some racism in the WWE, he was defending that. Basically saying, well, it's just guys in the WCW he was talking about. And look, with zero context, you could believe that. But again, the fact does not escape. You can't escape from the fact that the WWE did not heavily feature black men. Or sparingly. I remember D'Lo Brown. Loved D'Lo Brown. He was a double mid-card champ. Mark Henry, he had a decent run before, all the Hall of Pain stuff, which I didn't see in real time. Because again, I'm a lapsed fan. But he was playing a caricature of a hypersexual black man when I was watching with the sexual chocolate stuff. It was funny, but in hindsight, it was, we got to call it what it is, racially charged. A racially charged gimmick. Black men will, anything. He had a child with Mae Young, a 80-year-old woman. So on to what this is all about. I'm not going to go through it too much because we kind of know what's going on. Swerve went on Vlad. Vlad asked him a question about the racism in the WWE. Swerve brings up, when Vince McMahon, said, what's up, my, what? And Booker was right there, and he played it off as a comedy routine. Look, Swerve, again, I say both him and Booker are wrong. But let me just finish with Booker. Booker, what's funny is I was recently watching a Hall of Fame induction. And I didn't know the Harlem Heat had been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And this is crazy. These fake ass Rough Riders are taking over the street. You gotta be kidding me right now. Alright. I didn't even know the Harlem Heat were inducted into the WWE. Because obviously it's WrestleMania time, and I was basically asking myself that question about just people who've been inducted. And I looked it up, and one thing Booker T said in the induction, and you look at the fact that everybody knows about Booker T's past. Everybody knows that he dealt with being incarcerated. And one thing he talked about is how his first job out of after being locked up was being in wrestling. And I remember before that, his brother talking about Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious passed a couple, I forget, either last 2024 or 23. And he talked about how close, how big Sid Vicious was in he and his brothers coming up. And they basically got their break from Sid Vicious, a white guy. And they got their break into WCW. They were his They were able to be his partners or something like that. So I kind of get where Booker T is coming from and trying to defend where he worked. But here's the problem. Booker T said out of his mouth in a WCW, it was at Who Killed WCW documentary. He straight up said, look, I didn't think I was going to be the WCW champion because I was black. Out of his mouth, he said that. That's racism. Booker T gets compared to like every black, tall, athletic guy. But if you actually watch Booker T, that dude is one of the greatest in-ring performers. Black, white, Latino, a Japanese, Samoan, doesn't matter. He's one of the best in-ring performers ever. But we looked up to Booker T because he was a black man. He was good, but he was a black man. And again, Booker T kind of went all over the place with his, because, he had a response, and Booker T said some things that really bothered me. Particularly, he said something about being on a movie set and hearing the N-word. You're going to have to either deal with it or get fired. And it's like, what type of stuff is that? And that's the crux of my problem with Booker T, is he very much so soft shoes and defends the WWE. And to go to my question earlier, is the WWE racist? I don't think you as a black person would watch WWE, definitely in recent times, and say it's a racist product. Again, I'm a Laps fan. I stopped watching, again, around 03, 04, maybe a little earlier than that. And then I didn't start watching again until like 2022. One of the first people I saw on WWE that made me keep watching, again, black woman, Bianca Belair. And I don't even have to go through her accolades in such a short time. But again, black woman got me back to watching WWE. And then, of course, I latched on to Roman Reigns. I thought he put on a good show. And that's right in the middle of the bloodline stuff. So we don't have to go over that. But the WWE's history is inescapable. And that's the reason why they keep trying to bring Hulk Hogan back, despite the fact that he's on tape saying he's racist. And people are trying to spin that to something that it's not. Or something that it isn't, and not what it actually is. It's a white man saying that he's racist. But again, look, I understand Booker. The wrestling saved his life, and that's cool. But you giving all these soft shoe, really, you probably should just left it alone, even though Vlad did bring him up. Booker T seems to understand that Vlad sets these traps so he can get people directed to his videos. And he's the one who felt. Swerve didn't get played, you got played. Again, Booker T himself has said, and again, he kind of had these circular arguments where, in one instance, he was saying, black people aren't getting over because of racism, it's because of talent. And again, I'm weaving in something I didn't really introduce. Booker T, he's quick. Another example of Booker T soft shoeing for the WWF or WWE, thinking of and dealing with race issues, is the Sasha and Naomi walkout. Now, with that, I'm a lapse in. That literally happened like right before I started watching again. Like, I hadn't even known. That's kind of was the thing that everybody was arguing about around the time I started watching again. And Booker T, if you go look at his stuff, he's just basically saying, you just got to learn your place, blah, blah, blah. Don't hit your fit. Don't cause any trouble. And I just think that's nonsense. Again, I'm trying not to curse. But the one thing I've learned about wrestling as I've kind of, caught myself up, I watch more wrestling now than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch it, so I had to sneak and watch it. And there obviously wasn't this much accessibility to wrestling. So now I'm watching wrestling videos damn near every day. But one thing you learn about wrestling when you go back into the history is that, people don't get over and become stars by being nice, by just accepting what the booker tells them, by just accepting what the bosses tell them what to do. They risk a lot of time being fired. The biggest guy, the absolute biggest stars, hit your fit. And a lot of them are still celebrated to this day after hitting those fits. Stone Cold, who I think is, if not The Rock, he's the GOAT. He did the same exact thing as Sasha Banks, and they're begging him to come back. And this man can barely even walk. You do not hit fits in wrestling by being nice and playing your position. He's been quoted as saying that there is no racism. All the black talent are down because they're just not good enough. And we can have a conversation. Everybody's are fans of certain people. But I look at the type of criticism people levy to certain talent, just in general, regardless if they're black or not. But the excuses they come with, that person not connecting with the audience, you can always look at a person that's actually on TV all the time and say, okay, then what's this person's excuse for actually making it? Not going to get too much into that, but it's like people who are in the know about wrestling, and I consider myself probably a hardcore fan, you know that people aren't over and not over simply by talent. There's a lot of people on TV all the time stinking up the joint. Whether it be in the ring, backstage, with a microphone in hand. Some people, they just really will just do everything but put the microphone in their hand. Come on now. Objectively speaking, people like Sasha Banks, Naomi, 2 former champions, are not just substandard. No, they don't fit the current agenda, and they decided to say something about it. Just like I'm sure plenty of people try to say something about it. There's a female wrestler that's in the news right now for pitching a fit for not liking something. She's being celebrated for it. I'll leave that alone. But again, my issue with Booker T is just on race issues in general in wrestling. It seems like he is a soft shore in the sense that he's going to always find it's not racist this, it's not racist, it's never race with Booker T. And I will give him this respect as an elder, regardless if he wants to speak on it, he wants to have a testimony on it. I'm sure he dealt with racism. Hell, I've heard backstage accounts of Booker T calling out, and I'm not gonna say any names, I forget who exactly it was, but it was a person who has plenty of accusations of saying racist stuff, but he's in a position of power. But Booker T had to check him for making fun of Martin Luther King, and Booker T went straight to Vince McMahon and made Vince McMahon say something in a meeting about it and fix it. Again, I try to instead of being an internet gangster, I try to see like the real world. It's got to be isolating for someone like Booker T. I've got problems with a lot of great black figures, but I try not to judge them too harshly because they actually had to live it. But here's my problem with Booker T. It's like Booker T is a great man, and I get it. Largely, his legacy is tied up in the WWE. But even his own brother has talked about the issues with booking with black talent. Stevie Ray he has a video on YouTube where he talks about the black talent. He talks about the reason why he didn't go to the WWE. We didn't get any Harlem Heat in the WWE. Why? Because he didn't want to have to deal with the racism. It's that simple. He goes into more detail, but that's as simple as it is. Now, again, I think Booker T is wrong, but overall, I think Booker T is a good guy. Just the problem is he's got a bias that he just will not properly, in my opinion, encapsulate the issues of racism in America. Look, WWE is a company built on favoritism and nepotism. you can't tell me stuff like racism doesn't come into play, even in just implicitly, if you're not, even if you're just not really even thinking about it. But now, when I hear about certain people, oh, this person's like a daughter to me, it's always people in position of power. This person's like a son to me. It's always people in the position of power relating to someone of the same race as them. And again, I'm not saying that black people don't do it in certain places, but there's nothing like wrestling to where if somebody in power loves a person, that person's going to be up, up, up. Now, Swerve, I'll be real quick on Swerve, because obviously Swerve doesn't have the same pedigree, he doesn't have the same history as Booker T, but Swerve has got some problems too. Is he right that there's racism? There's been racism in WWE. It's inescapable. But what he's wrong about, and this is I'm recording this the day after Dynasty. I don't see who he's trying to impress with the F Booker T, especially in the crowd. Swerve has had some issues with blackness in the wrestling base, to where he outright said he didn't want to be listed as a black wrestler. But when it's time to have his first championship run, he's telling everybody who will listen that he wants to be the first black champion. You know, he's got songs talking about he had a girlfriend that's black and ugly. He's, I don't have a problem. I have zero problem with interracial dating, but he seems to have a bit of an issue himself with black women, to where he's, people have given him strike one, strike two. Had a girlfriend, but she was black and ugly. If you want to fix racism, ha ha ha, make mixed babies. That's just a very crass way of discussing race and black women and more complicated issues. It's a joke. And again, the issue to where he was shitting on again, I try not to curse. He was talking down on a list of black talent, but it's like, there's not a lot of black people being highlighted in WWE. I love lists like that, to where I could know that there's black talent all over the globe wrestling. But again, with Swerve, I'm still a fan of him. I still root for him. He's extremely talented. But it seems like he's doing the same thing that Booker T is doing, to where he's doing the whole, well, AEW's not as racist as the WWE. And again, I spent a lot of time talking about the WWE. A lot. AEW ain't that far off. It just hasn't been around as long. What's my man? Pro wrestling bits. And again, I'm a big fan of his, but I think he's sometimes a little too biased towards the WWE. But he made a great point. Right now, a feud that Swerve is in, and again, go watch Pro Wrestling Bits. Great YouTube channel to watch the whole video. But he's making a big point about how the Death Riders and Jon Moxley's character arc that he's playing right now is based on a neo-Nazi racist movie. And he shows a clip of Jon Moxley almost word for word. He changes maybe one word, quoting the movie. I forget the name of the movie, so watch Pro Wrestling Bits for it. Big fan of Will Ospreay, but it seems like as soon as Will Ospreay got there, and Will Ospreay had to basically come out and say, look, it was my idea for Swerve not to lose to me. Swerve was like 2 months into his historic first black champion run. And it was like Will Ospreay, who I love, was already about to go over him. The dude Swerve, who's been there for years, grinding. Y'all about to get him the title up off him for a guy who just got there. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that the AEW has just as many, issues as the WWE, but it's like Tony Khan basically was bullying one of his former employees, going on Twitter and calling her out, when it's like, that's unprofessional. Like, why would you do that to one of your ex-employees? And go look up the whole Big Swole, again, black woman, Big Swole Tony Khan thing. It's like people can start pulling receipts from AEW. Again, not going to be as big as WWE, but again, his whole point is how black talent can't flourish in AEW. Excuse me, in WWE. But I don't see that much black talent flourishing in AEW. I get it. They got the new guy that was against Ospreay. They got, of course, the Hurt Syndicate, who everybody loves. But it's kind of the same thing with the WWE. You got Bianca Belair. And then who? The Street Profits, they won the title for the first time in 4 years. I went to see them in person. They damn near killed themselves in a triple threat ladder match on SmackDown and didn't win the titles. But some old group that most of us don't give a damn about. Sorry for people who've been following the Motor City Machine Guns for years. Most of us don't know who the hell they are, man. But boy, we got to keep the titles on the Bloodline 2.0, because we haven't had enough Bloodline. Again, Roman Reigns is my favorite current wrestler, but geez Louise, the Bloodline has been going on for 5 years now. But again, I think Swerve is wrong. I think Booker is wrong. I think Swerve has made it too personal. He made his point, then he decided to make it personal in a way that it didn't need to be, because the fact of the matter is the facts were on his side. But Swerve also has to be called out for trying to use blackness for his success. And not because he actually believed it. Because again, we've got a lot of receipts on Swerve doing very anti-black things. Booker, I get it. The man has actually done the work. The man has actually dealt with the racism. So you got to give him credit for that. I will not take that away from Booker. But, you know, he seems to just be just too far going into a WWE soft shoeing to really take him seriously about a situation like this, to where it's always something else but racism. So I'm out. Look, this YouTube channel. This is the weatherman. I saw it was raining and pouring between two titans in the industry, so I had to call it out.